Hello again, my little mathematicians. Today we're going to be working on page 1 and 2 in the packet, which is solids and their nets. And we're going to kind of introduce the difference between prisms and pyramids so that you can see when you're drawing out your net shapes, how they should look and how you kind of have an indicator that you're drawing out your net shape correctly for when you want to find the surface area. So first off, let's focus on this one right here. Okay, this is a rectangular prism. Okay, the second word is always prism or pyramid. A prism has the same top and bottom, and a pyramid only has one base shape and it comes to a point at the top. Okay, so because it had no point at the top and it has two identical bases, it's a prism. And then the first word is according to its base shape. So my base shape right here is a rectangle, so hence why it's called a rectangular prism. Okay, so I'm going to call it a rectangular prism, and it has two rectangular bases, so that's the top and bottom. And then your sides, it's always however many sides your base shape has, that's how many side faces it's going to have. Well, a rectangle has 4 sides, so it's going to have 4 rectangular sides or faces coming off of it. Okay. This right here is another rectangular prism, okay, because it has 2 bases that are identical, and then it has a rectangular base, so I would call it a rectangular prism. Okay, just as before, it has 2 bases and then 4 sides of the base shape, so 4 rectangular faces coming off. So each of those is going to have a total of 6 rectangles when you draw your net figure. However, for this particular one, if all of your sides are squares, then a rectangular prism, that is the correct name for it, but we can even be a little bit more specific and we can refer to that as a cube. Okay, if you called it rectangular prism, you'd still get credit. It's still correct. It's still, the net figure has 6 rectangles, but it's just every single one of those rectangles that you extend out is going to be an identical square. And so I refer to that 3D shape as a cube. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at example 3 right here. Is that a prism? It is not a prism. It is a pyramid. How do I know that? Because it comes to a point at the top and it only has one base, okay? Because if it had 2 bases parallel from each other, then it would be more like this. But because there's no top parallel base to this one, it comes to a singular point. So this is a pyramid. That's the second word, pyramid versus prism. The first word is, what is its base shape? Well, its base shape is a rectangle. So I'm going to call this a rectangular pyramid. Now, unlike a prism, it has 2 bases. This only has 1 base. And then, again, unlike a prism, a pyramid has triangular sides. So rectangles have, prisms have rectangular sides, but pyramids have triangular sides. And how many sides? Well, it depends. How many sides does your base shape have? This base shape is a rectangle, and a rectangle has 4 sides, so it's going to have 4 triangles coming off of it for a total of 5 sides in my net drawing. Now, if this base shape is a square, then you could just call it a square pyramid or pyramid. Okay, rectangular pyramid, square pyramid, both of those are acceptable. But when it's a square pyramid, you can just say pyramid, okay? Otherwise, if it has any other different type of base shape, you would have to specify what type of pyramid it is, okay? But the Egyptians, like when you think pyramid, you immediately, your mind fast forwards to those cool pyramids in Egypt, and they all have square bases. Okay. Number 4, if I take a look at this drawing, you're like, oh, there's triangles, so pyramid, because you know a pyramid has triangular sides. Okay, notice that this comes to a point, right? So this was a pyramid. There is no one singular point that this shape comes to. So if you look more closely, you're like, well, I see a rectangle, and then this back rectangle here. Well, rectangular sides means prism. And I see, oh yeah, there's 2 identical bases right here. those are my two bases. So it's a prism. And what type of prism? Well, a triangular prism, because my base shape is a triangle. And then to kind of double check that you made yourself correct, okay, it has two triangle bases, and a triangle has three sides, so there should be three rectangles coming off of that base shape. There's one rectangle, there's the second rectangle, and there's that back rectangle. Yep, there was three rectangular sides or faces coming off of those two triangular bases. So that kind of just helps you see the difference between pyramids and prisms. When you're going to draw out your net shapes, you can kind of double check yourself and make sure that you drew enough shapes out in your net drawing. Okay. For this last one right here, this is a pyramid or a prism. What do you think? Well, it comes to a point at the top, so a pyramid. If you said pyramid, you were correct. What type of pyramid? Well, what's your base shape? Across from that point, what's the base? It's a triangle, so it's a triangular pyramid. So it has one base, and that base is a triangle, and that base has three sides, so there should be three triangular faces or sides coming off of it. Okay, and then that just helps you kind of keep in mind when you're drawing out your net drawings that you drew it correctly. Okay, and then a refresher, when you see the words nets and they ask you to define it, what is a net? It's a two-dimensional pattern of a three-dimensional shape, as if you were to unfold it and lay it out flat. And then you can see each individual surface and what makes up all its different parts. And it just makes it easier if you do it that way, because then you can unfold it, draw all the different individual shapes, find the area of each individual shape to then find your total surface area. Okay, so hopefully that was a little bit of some helpful hints, so that way you know that you drew your net drawing correctly. Okay, congratulations, guys.